Want to say a good morning to those of you that have already joined this morning on this rainy Sunday morning. We're going to give a few people an opportunity to check in this morning, just a little bit ahead of 10 o'clock. So we're the early birds this morning. Excuse me. If you're checking in early, feel free to post a good morning or to share a comment this morning as others get ready to join us for our morning worship experience. We're going to get things underway very shortly, but again, we just want to give everyone an opportunity to join in. We're just a couple of minutes early. I thought I'd try something different since we started late last week. Thought we'd get in here early and just say good morning to a few people. Hey, Adele, good morning. I hope everything is well with you, Tracy, Ronnie, and Dee Dee, and everyone else. Oh, I love my coffee. Want to say good morning to those who are joining us this morning via our teleconference this morning. Hey, Sister Mildred, Anthony, good morning to you. Blessings and love to you and your family as well. Please give your mom a hug for me. Hey, Sister Danette, good to see you again. Takia, good morning. I'm continuing to pray for you and Shadara and the rest of the family. Sister Janice down in North Carolina, how are you doing this morning? Again, so many. Thank you all for chiming in and sharing your good mornings with me this morning. It's good to know who is here and joining us for our morning worship. Excuse me. All right, we're just at about 10 o'clock. And as others begin to join us this morning, it's a rainy, sort of dreary Sunday morning, but man, temperatures are forecasted to be up in the 60s. And so there is no complaining about that. Hey, Nikki, how are you doing? Nikki is a co-worker of mine, and we go way back. Thank you for joining us this morning. Janice, I'm glad to hear that you're doing wonderful. Please tell Elder Anderson I said hello as well. Amen. Amen. So we're going to give about another minute for others to join before we get started with our morning worship experience. We want to welcome you to the Emmaus Baptist Church. For those of you who are joining in for the very first time, we welcome you. My name is Tommy Fleming. I have the awesome privilege of pastoring this wonderful group of people at the Emmaus Baptist Church. And so again, we want to thank you for joining us, whether you're joining us via our Facebook live feed, whether you're on our YouTube channel, or again, joining us via our teleconference this morning. We want to pray God's blessings upon you. We're going to get things going in just a minute. While I have a second, I do want to wish a happy heavenly 84th birthday to my father in love, Roosevelt Walker. Today would have been his 84th birthday, and dearly we miss that man. Yeah. There's not much more you can say other than that. Hey, Gail Kit, top of the morning to you. I hope Terry's doing okay. Wendy Bobendi. Good morning, Wendy. As always, please give your mama a hug and a kiss for me. Thanks again for joining in. Hey, Nico. Good morning. Tell Grandma Nita we said hello. Tell your mother and everyone else that we continue to keep you guys lifted up in our thoughts and in our prayers. So we're just about 3 minutes after 10. If it's all right with you guys, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to share an opening selection with you now. You know, with the advent of modern technology, we can do some cool things. And so one of the things I'm going to try to do now is to share some music with you. So bear with me as I work my way through here and find the song I am looking for. Hey, Vermel, good morning. Trusting and praying that that all is well with you this morning. Amen. Amen. So we'll go ahead and we'll continue this morning with our worship service as we try to get some music going here. Isn't that something, boy? Everything was working just fine earlier this morning. And just as it is, when it's time to really get things going, we run into a little hiccup. But feel free to talk amongst yourselves. We'll get this thing worked out, and we'll get our opening selection underway for you in just a second. I feel like singing myself. The Lord is my light, salvation. Yeah, y'all don't want that. Hey, Janice. Good morning. Thanks for joining us this morning. To Dana, Dane, and Irvin, a pleasant good morning to the both of you as well. So looks like we're not having any success with our music ministry this morning. It looks like we're having a little difficulty, a little technical difficulty getting things going. So we're just going to share some notes with you this morning. We want to continue to keep the family of Sister Dorothy Jefferson in our thoughts and prayers, of course. We had her homegoing celebration just the other day on Tuesday, it was, and it was a wonderful homegoing celebration that spoke volumes about Deaconess Jefferson and the type of person she was. And I'm no sure that she is happy. It was a very brief service, and I even preached briefly. So I'm sure she'll be just thrilled, or she was thrilled with that aspect as well. It's interesting. I got an email from Anthony Woodson just the other day. And Anthony shared some concerns he had. And those concerns essentially centered around, really, there's my dog. His favorite toy is an empty Pepsi bottle, and he is sitting here now chewing on his Pepsi bottle. But Anthony shared with me some of the concerns he had, and those concerns centered around our participation within the vaccination process for COVID-19. And he, the word had been getting to him that there were some people who had concerns about participating in the process this year, in the process of getting the COVID-19 vaccination, just becoming a part of that process. And so, he raised some very good points. And so I reached out to the Virginia Department of Health, and I got in touch with our representatives for the Chickahominy branch of the Virginia Department of Health. And that's what we're a part of. And I've got a commitment from Caitlin Hodge, who's in the office of Dr. Ted Franks, to join us next week to answer questions about the vaccination, about the process, about the efficacy of the vaccine. Hey, Jon Snow, please go. It's going to be one of those mornings, I can tell. And so we'll have her joining us either live or via audio or via video next week to sort of to spend some time with us and to go through some of those questions we may have about participating in the entire vaccination process. And so I am going to encourage you, if you have any questions, if you have any concerns that you would like to see addressed about taking this vaccination, that you just reach out to me, let me know, give me a phone call, and I'll be sure to share those questions with her. This is so embarrassing. Y'all gotta have to excuse me for just a second. I've got to take this bottle from him. Jon Snow, give me that. Go. Wow. It is like having another kid. I can't believe it, man. When we got him, he was just supposed to lay down and go outside every now and again and take a walk. And that was it. That's the only thing I committed to. And now got this crazy dog that sort of wants to interject himself into every part of our life. So I did want to share those points with you this morning. You be sure to get that information to me. If you have any concerns whatsoever about the vaccination, about the administration of it, about the side effects, just reach out to me and let me know. And we'll have Caitlin Hodge join us next week to just share some information with us on the vaccine, about the availability of the vaccine, the efficacy of the vaccine, and the process for taking it. Of course, the FDA just gave emergency approval for the Johnson & Johnson version of it. And that version is going to go into effect. It'll be available to us beginning very soon, but it is a one-shot vaccine. And so that's good news for us this morning. Just want to give some more morning shout outs to Nicole. Thank you for joining us. To our old neighbor and dear friend, Barbara Howlett, waiting for you to sing, teach, and preach. Yeah, be careful what you ask for, Barbara. Tiffany, good morning to you. And also a good morning to Sister Teresa Norris. Continue to keep you and the family in our thoughts and prayers. Well, I know it's been quite a struggle for you. So, we continue to keep you guys in our thoughts and prayers. Deacon Jackson, Primus Jackson, good morning to you. And Janet Ezel, my good friend. Yeah, he is praising God. He's about to get sacrificed very soon. Amen. So I don't want to belabor the morning. I've been trying to get this music going for us, and it doesn't look like it's going to participate this morning. So I do want to go ahead and share a few things with you this morning. And from my perspective, one of the interesting things about this Christian journey for us is how many of us as Christians sort of put our humanity on the back burner. That sometimes as Christians, we feel like we have to be these superhuman beings that are capable of taking all kinds of hits, that are capable of just these supernatural experiences. And probably the most difficult thing about being a Christian is just the humanity that we have. God does not expect us to suspend our humanity. He doesn't expect us to stop being human beings in order to be his children. As a matter of fact, that is exactly how he created us. And so we sometimes make it more difficult for ourselves by just continuing to be this super human Christian. And I want to spend some time this morning, just a few minutes, talking about something that many Christians, or at least the human Christians, I know struggle with. That what I'm talking about this morning isn't for those super Christians who have figured out this Christian journey. See, the struggle is rooted primarily in how life is presented to us. From the very first day we are born, our parents begin a concerted effort to sort of develop our sense of individuality, rather, knowing at some point that we as children, that this child, this infant, this toddler, this baby, whom has been the center of our lives, will soon become an independent, thinking, living, breathing being with a life of their own to live, a path of their own to follow. And so as parents, we begin to prepare them for that life of independence. We help to instill confidence in them. We help to show them how to do things on their own. And we're rewarded for this effort to create self-sufficient, independent children by becoming the focus of their efforts to be self-sufficient, becoming the perceived foils of their independence. I'm going somewhere with this. After having done all we can to instill confidence and self-sufficiency within our children, we're constantly challenged to reel them in and remind them that, child, you ain't grown until you're gone. Anybody ever had to break down that conversation at least once with your child? See, the problem we run into during our Christian walk is that God has given us the free will to make a decision about how we will live our lives. God allows us the free will to determine if we will purpose to live a life that is pleasing in His eyes, or if we will choose to live a life that is not pleasing in His eyes. I know that sounds harsh. Many of us like to sort of stand right there in the middle, and yeah, I'm not doing it all the way good, but I ain't doing it all the way bad. If you're listening closely, it sounds like I'm saying that either you are or you're not. And some of you might be thinking, well, Reverend Fleming, I'm not trying to live a life that is not pleasing in God's eyes. I don't wake up in the morning and think to myself, how many things can I do? How many things can I say? How many things can I think? How many things can I want that are not pleasing in God's eyesight? But before you take that approach, I'd ask you to ask yourself, are you waking up in the morning and thinking to yourself, how many ways can I do things? How many ways can I say things? How many ways can I think things? How many ways can I want things that are absolutely pleasing in God's sight? Do I start off my day actively looking for ways I can be more in line with God's will for me? Look, I'm just trying to help somebody this morning. And if this pandemic has taught me one thing, that is, nothing in life is guaranteed. If you think about it, when March of 2020 came in and we approached that third Sunday in March, how many of you thought you would be out of church for a month? How many of you in March of 2020 thought we would, for the very first time, have no homecoming service? How many of you thought that we would have no nightly revival preaching, no visiting choirs, that we would not have a Good Friday service in church, that we wouldn't have a sunrise service in church? Church going was something that we completely took for granted. And I'm here to tell you that it's getting later than some of us think. And I just want to help you play a little catch up this morning. As we look at the gospel according to Matthew, in particular, chapter 16 of that gospel, Jesus has warned his disciples about subscribing to the perverted theology of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. He warns them of the leavening that permeates their teaching. And then when they arrived at Caesarea Philippi, Jesus poses this particular question to his disciples. He says, "Whom do men say I am?" And I know we're all fairly familiar with this discourse. They began to throw out all of these famous prophets. They told Jesus, some people are saying that you're John the Baptist. Other folks are saying that you are Elijah, and some are saying that you're Jeremiah or one of the other prophets that God has sent. And Jesus presses the subject by asking them, but who do you say I am? And Peter uttered those words that made him a part of Christian history. Peter said, "Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God." And as we progress through the chapter, we get down to the 21st verse. And immediately after Peter uttered these words, Christ gives him a commendation. Jesus tells him, he says that flesh and blood did not reveal this to you, but it was my Father who is in heaven. He says that you are blessed because you have this knowledge. And he says, from now on, your name will be called Petros, Peter, or Petros, the rock. And upon this rock, he said, I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And from that time forth, began Jesus to show unto his disciples how he must go into Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders and chiefs and priests and scribes, and be killed and be raised again on the third day morning. Wow. But Peter was having none of that. Peter responded to him and began to, by pulling him aside and rebuking him, saying, be it far from thee, Lord, this shall not be unto thee. And the text tells us that at that point, after having given him probably the greatest recommendation that has ever been given to a soldier in the army of the Lord, he turns unto Peter and says, get thee behind me, Satan. He says, thou art an offense unto me, for thou savorest not the things that be of God, but those that be of men. And then Jesus said unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross. You see, I'm going somewhere here. My wife and I were out driving somewhere the other day, and I can't remember exactly where we were going, but I noticed that my wife, poor thing, could not relax. Now, I'm an excellent driver in my own right. I keep my eyes on the traffic in front of me. I'm checking out what's happening in my rear view mirror. I'm constantly checking my blind spots. I do my best to anticipate what the other driver is going to do. And I do my best to be prepared. And as I was preparing to merge onto 288, I noticed her hand tightening near the door handle. And then when the car in front of me tapped their brakes, I saw her tap her brakes. She's checking the blind spots for me, checking the blind spot on her side, checking the blind spot on my side. And I came to this revelation during the drive that my wife is a good driver in her own right. I can sleep when my wife is driving. It might be a light sleep, but I can sleep. But my wife is not a good rider. You see, because my wife has a certain level of confidence in her driving. Lord help me. A good rider, not a good driver, but a good rider has to give up anticipating what the driver should do. A good rider has to have the ability to relax and let the driver do the work. I'm going somewhere here. See, in that 24th verse, in the King James Version, it says, Jesus responds unto his disciples, and he says, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. And I know that if I'm honest with myself, and if you're honest with yourself, that it is sort of difficult to process what taking up your cross means. I think about Deacon Alec Coles right now singing that song, must Jesus bear the cross alone and all this world go free? No, there's a cross for everyone. There's a cross for you and there's one for me. But it doesn't help us to understand how we're supposed to walk this Christian journey. It doesn't help me to understand exactly what does it mean for me to take up my cross. Exactly what was Jesus instructing us to do? Well, the Message translation puts it like this. It says in the 24th verse, it says, then Jesus went to work on his disciples. He says, anyone who intends to come with me has to let me lead. He says, you're not in the driver's seat. I am. He said, you're not in the driver's seat. I am. A good driver a good rider rather, has to give up anticipating what the driver should do. A good rider has to have the ability to relax and let the driver do the work. See, in that 24th verse, Jesus says in response to Peter's declaration about the path of the ministry and the role they should play. You get that? That's exactly what Peter is doing. When Peter says, no, Lord, far be it from you. We're not going to let that happen. He tells the master how things are going to work out. And based on Peter's visceral response to what Jesus is saying, Jesus says, anyone who is coming with me has to let me take the lead. Jesus says, you're not in the driver's seat. I am. I just love the way the Message translation put it. It's in terms that are relatable for me. Who hasn't been in the passenger seat of a car or the back seat of the car with a better idea of when to make a lane change, with a better idea of the speed we should be driving, a better idea of how close or how far you should be from the car in front of you, a better idea even of the path to take. And I can understand second guessing me. I can understand second guessing Grandma Nita when she's behind the wheel, but a ride with Jesus takes a different perspective, my friend. It's hard after spending a lifetime developing yourself into someone you can depend on. How many of us know this morning that sometimes we can become undependable even for ourselves? But if you've spent a lifetime developing yourself into someone even you can depend on, this Christian journey sounds bananas. Trusting that Jesus will show you the way, not only that he will show you the way, but that he will make a way as well. Listen, this whole driving thing represents a metaphor for you slowly giving up some of the control you've worked so hard to maintain. This driving scenario is not intended to encourage you to suddenly take your hands off the steering wheel while you're barreling down Poorhouse Road, while you're barreling down Fairgrounds Road, while you're flying around that curve on Maidens Road, but it is intended to help you visualize the role that Jesus is prepared to play in your life if you just let him. Arrested Development had a song called Tennessee, and they said, Lord, I know you're supposed to be my steering wheel and not just my spare tire. Somebody missed that. Lord, I know you're supposed to be my steering wheel and not just my spare tire. And for too many of us in this Christian journey, we turn to Jesus when the car breaks down. We turn to Jesus when we've got a flat tire. We turn to Jesus when things go wrong. But if you let him drive, if you just go along for the ride, if you let Jesus occupy the driver's seat of your life, and it's not easy. It's not easy because we've spent so much of our lives developing a sense of independence. We've spent so much time of our lives developing a sense of self-sufficiency that it is hard. Even as a good Christian, it is hard to just give it all to Jesus. But that's what he wants. That's what he wants. He's not looking for us to help him drive the car. You understand that Jesus was with God. Jesus was a part of the creation process, that Jesus was an active part of all that has been created within this world, that he actively participated in it, and that he continues to this day to actively participate in our lives. Jesus is the one that makes a way for us when there doesn't appear to be a way. Jesus is the one that opens doors that appear to have been shut firmly in our face. Jesus is the one who advocates for us, even when we're feeling at our lowest point in our lives. It is so good to know that we've got a friend in Jesus. We've got a friend in Jesus that sticks closer to us than any brother ever could. When we're feeling alone, we can turn to him. And that's the kind of person you can trust to ride along with. I don't know what the challenges of your life have been. I know that you feel as though you've had to make your own way sometimes. I know that you feel that you've had to fight your own battles, that you've had to sort of force open some doors that others wanted to keep shut, that you've had to go out and do some things yourself. And that is part and parcel of the growing process for us, that in a world that has taught us to develop our own self-sufficiency, to develop our own independence, to develop our own way of doing things. When we've lived in a world like that for so long, when we've lived in a manner like that for so long, it's so hard to just get in a car and let somebody else drive. But that's what Jesus is willing to do. Jesus is willing to be your navigation system. Jesus is willing to be your steering wheel. And yes, when you get a flat tire, Jesus is willing to be your spare tire. He's willing to be your spare part. But his primary role is not just as a fixer, but his primary role is as a creator. You understand that Jesus makes those ways, that Jesus opens those doors, that Jesus heals from those diseases that ravage our bodies. I am prayerful this morning that our time spent together this morning will help you to develop your sense of dependence upon God. As the old songwriter said, without God, I could do nothing. Without God, I would fail. I would be like a ship without a sail. And so I pray that you will continue through this day, through the week to come, to continue to lean on God and to learn more effectively how to let him be not just your spare tire, but how to allow him to be your steering wheel as all. Amen. Amen. I pray that this week blesses you in a way that you haven't been blessed before. I want to tell you to just take care of yourselves and let God take care of you as well. Love each other. Love each other, man. Tomorrow is not promised to us. As we get ready to sign off this morning, I do want to encourage you to keep Ruth Dickerson and our good friend Evelyn Sneed in your thoughts and prayers. That their brother Lonnie Dabney, passed earlier this week. The family didn't expect it, and it was even if you do expect it, death is still a burden. Death is still an intrusion into our lives. So continue to keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Don't forget, if you have any questions about the COVID-19 vaccination, send those questions to me. I'll be speaking in the upcoming week with Caitlin Hodge, who is with the Chickahominy branch of the Virginia Department of Health, and she'll be able to answer any questions you might have, and hopefully assuage any concerns you might have about taking the vaccine. Look, I know for us African Americans, the medical community has not been good to us, but at some point, we need to understand the serious nature of this disease and the inordinate impact that it is having within our particular community. There are so many of the underlying conditions that are associated with a more serious hospitalization from COVID-19, high blood pressure, diabetes, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. All of those adversely affect us within our particular community. So be sure to get those questions to me. And during next Sunday service, we'll be sure to share that information with you. I'm sorry that we didn't have our music ministry this morning. I thought I had everything lined up, but maybe we just needed to hear a word from God. Maybe not just feel so good about music this morning, but to let the Lord speak to us in a way. Remember, He's not just your spare wheel, but He's your spare tire, but He's your steering wheel as well. God bless you, Claudizi. I see you. Janice Hopkins, have a good day. Benita, please give our love to the family and everyone else. Tiff, Janice, Takia, Gail, Crystal Stovall. God bless you all, and we'll talk again next week. Amen.